lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. So we're going to have a very intimate experience today, which I think is going to reap some good conversations. Many of you know ACOR, so I'm going to go through this quickly. Basically, my presentation today is just to lay out the structure for today and how we're going to move forward. Of course, introduce our main speaker, Josh Green, who's a partner at Patton Boggs and also leads the Cleantech Open effort here in the Southeast. So thank you especially to Josh and Cleantech Open, of course, for being here today. Just in terms of structure, we're going to modify this, of course, to acknowledge that we can get through a lot of these things faster, especially the breakout group session, and we're also trying to catch up on time. So we're going to have a shortened period of this, but this is basically how we're going to go through. So we're going to have Josh, of course, present more on the state of entrepreneurship here in the U.S. To kind of identify challenges, opportunities, kind of what the current state of the industry is on the entrepreneur side. We're then going to break out, and we'll have this breakout table to discuss how this relates to the Indian experience and kind of opportunities for collaboration. We'll then put together some summary statements that will be presented towards the end of the conference today. And we'll then probably go with closing remarks. And I'll probably ask Prabir or someone to make closing remarks just on where we go from here. Of course, we're all about deliverables and outcomes. So it's nice to brainstorm, but what are our next steps to getting a lot of the good thoughts we have out there implemented? So just quickly, for those of you who don't know ACOR, ACOR convenes the entire U.S. renewables industry. We're a 501c3 membership nonprofit with over 500 corporations and organizations that are involved with us to create a more secure and prosperous U.S. through the implementation of greater renewables. So we are across renewables. And one of the areas I've always said we need to better build better bridges in is the entrepreneur space. So this is just one of many efforts in how we're going to do that. Just to give you a background again, like I said, our members come from all sides of the industry. And then in terms of sectors and what we're addressing, international engagement has been one of the biggest primary focuses starting this last August. How do we engage with international industry on financing, on policies, and more specifically on market drivers? You know, a lot of us get bogged down in the policy and finance conversations, but we don't think about the market drivers that will actually get things moving forward long term. So that's going to be quite significant. In terms of what we've identified here at ACOR for the U.S. in terms of market drivers, there are 3 market drivers launched about 2 years ago in terms of focuses for us. Of course, national defense security being one of the big ones here in the U.S., power generation and infrastructure, working with utilities on 21st century business models for utilities, both from an IOU as well as from a muni perspective. And last but not least, transportation. Now, all 3 are big factors here in the U.S., but of course in India, same thing, same needs, same challenges in many ways, especially when you look at the Indian federalism structure with the federal government and the provincial government. Very comparable conversations going on here in the U.S. between the states and our federal government, so lots of synergies there. Now, the most exciting news is next month we'll be announcing the creation and registry of something called the Indian Renewable Energy Federation. That's going to be led by Mr. Subramanian, the former Secretary of MNRE, creating an ACOR-like organization in India to convene the entire industry, bring together all the different technologies together, and to work with financiers, government, regulators, you name it, on providing a more unified vision for India moving forward. And so there's going to be many areas of cooperation that ACOR will be working with Terry and others with implementing. Of course, the unified vision, like I mentioned, the 2022 roadmap, of course, to coincide with the next 12-year plan, or next 5-year plan, sorry. Of course, financing structures is a big thing. We're going to be doing a REF India-like event in 2014 to bring together financiers. And then, of course, like I mentioned, power generation strategies with the utilities who need a lot of help. And then, of course, communications there in India. So just going through that. So thank you. And I think with this, I'm just going to go to Josh, and we're going to go to your presentation then, Josh. Great, thanks.
Thanks, Tom. Hello, everyone. And for those listening on our webcast, greetings from Washington, D.C. Tom, thank you very much for that introduction, and we are happy at the Cleantech Open to be partners with ACOR and many other organizations around the country and globally, and empowering entrepreneurs who are working on cutting-edge technologies, both in the energy and environment space, to address the world's most urgent energy challenges. So, as Tom said, my name is Josh Green. By day, I am a partner at the international law firm of Patton Boggs, where I am the deputy chair of our energy environment practice. But my passion comes out with the Cleantech Open as a nonprofit organization empowering entrepreneurs. What I'm going to do is walk through Cleantech Open, who we are, what we do across the United States, as well as in 26 countries around the world. Interlaced in the presentation, I'll also talk about some of the challenges that entrepreneurs are facing, certainly here in the United States, as well as abroad. And of course, there's a lot of opportunity around the world. And we can maybe have some questions later on. I do want to apologize on the front end of my presentation, as I may have to leave shortly thereafter to attend to another matter. But anyway, here we go. So Cleantech Open, we run the world's largest clean technology accelerator. We do this with a number of volunteers, as you see, around the country. We're all across the United States, in 26 key metro areas. We're working exclusively with NASA on a Night Rover Challenge, as well as our Global Ideas Competition, which I'll get to momentarily. This is our mission, and as I tell folks in all of my presentations, I will not read every word on every slide. But this is really kind of what we are trying to do, find, foster entrepreneurs. And as you'll see, as part of our program, what we are attempting to do at the end of the day, every year, is get entrepreneurs investment ready. So those entrepreneurs who are working on technologies, services to address energy and environmental challenges, we want to get them investment ready for seed, angel, venture capital, and what we're seeing increasingly, not only across the United States, but globally, corporate strategic investment in very early stage technologies. This is our network of networks. It's something we have grown over the last 7 years. We started in 2006 in California, and have, unlike our nation's expansion westward, we have expanded eastward from Silicon Valley. But we have put together the various stakeholders that are key to driving energy and environmental technology innovation, and put them together rowing in the same direction. We are in Washington, D.C., and getting stakeholders around the same table is, for some, a life's work. But for others, it's extremely important, bridging the public sector and the private sector to advance innovation. These are some of our highlights from our 2012 U.S. Accelerator. You can see there, and I'll get to this momentarily, we have an application process for entrepreneurs and their young companies to apply. We do a first round vetting, and then we have companies participate in the program. It's a 6-month program where they get training, mentoring, access to capital, and the ability to showcase their technologies. One thing I do want to harp on is the last bullet in our results since 2006, the alumni companies. So at the end of this year, we will have approximately 900 companies that have come through our program since 2006. 40% of those companies are ongoing viable concerns, and the $800 million in private sector financing that has been raised, that will probably be just shy of $1 billion by the end of this program year. So we're very excited about those results. How we make it happen. We are a nonprofit, as I alluded to earlier, founded in 2006. We have our year-long calendar events. You can see the number of cash as well as in-kind services that we offer. Our clean tech categories we'll get to momentarily, our regional accelerators, and I've talked about the last 2 points. Smattering of our corporate sponsors, apologize for some of the fine print. We have more sponsors coming on board every year, really every month, and we're excited about that. And certainly if your organization would like to become involved with the Clean Tech Open, we'd love to have a dialogue with you. These are some of our success stories, a couple of slides, just to give you a smattering of some of the companies, what they do, where they came from, their raises to date, which is very important for us as an organization. Very interesting, cutting-edge technologies, and as you'll see, Some of these technologies are university IP through their tech transfer offices that entrepreneurs have come and tried to commercialize. Others are homegrown technologies. People come from different career spaces, different tracks, utilities, other sectors. To the right of the screen, Biofiltro is our 2011 Global Ideas competition winner from Chile. They now are doing wonderful things in California and growing literally by the month, and they are attracting some additional private sector financing. So our Global Ideas competition, this is a competition where we work with our NGO partners. We do a lot of work with the UN Foundation, the World Bank, and the Global Environment Facility. We work on the ground with different entrepreneurs and different organizations, universities across these countries. We're growing our country presence now. I think this year we're up to 30. We still want to grow and expand. And essentially what we are trying to do, again, find and foster entrepreneurs who are working on these incredible technologies to address energy and environmental challenges. One of the things we have an aspirational goal of doing is, and as you'll see momentarily, is taking our U.S. accelerator model, our 6-month intensive program, and replicating that all across the globe. At this point, we do have Cleantech Open France and UK have begun, and we are attempting to do the same thing this year in Brazil, Mexico, and in Canada. Certainly, we want to be doing a lot more in India. We do have a relationship with the Rajiv Fellowship Circle. We're trying to grow that out. There's a lot of relationship building by and between Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. Elon Musk at Tesla, has been very active and helpful in that regard. But bringing the accelerator program and all of its attributes and structure to India is something that we definitely want to do. So these are our regions here in the United States where we hold our accelerator program, obviously here in the Southeast, of which I am the regional director. These are our technology categories. Those of us in the space, I think we could probably have another 1-hour panel discussion about whether or not these are the appropriate category terms and what they encompass. But what we've tried to do over the last 7 years is be broad but also deep. A lot of these categories have subcategories interlaced within them, but we are seeing a lot more in our 2 new categories, chemicals and advanced materials, as well as information communication technology. So that ICT category, that's both hardware, but it's also software. And one of the things we're seeing here in the United States, and I think it's going to take off internationally, is a lot more of mobile web applications to drive not only energy efficiency, sustainability, knowledge gaps. And that's just going to be, I hope will not be another tech boom as we saw in the change of the last decade. But I really do think that ICT is a growing industry, and for a lot of entrepreneurs around the country, and certainly in India, the information and dissemination is going to be key. So this is just a rendering of our calendar events, how it works here in the United States and our U.S. Accelerator. As you see, we're there in May. Our application deadline has passed. We have 450 companies that have applied across the United States for our program this year. We most likely will be taking upwards of maybe 65% of those applicants. That's just our average. We have a pretty discerning round 1 judging criteria. But as you can see, it's a pretty intensive program where entrepreneurs go to not only our national academies, one in Boston, one in Silicon Valley, where they interact with a lot of prominent venture capitalists, John Doerr, Vinod Khosla, Steve Blank, who does a lot of teaching, amongst other things. Then they come back to their different regions across the country and are in intensive business clinics and workshops. These are opportunities for the entrepreneurs to interact with what we call subject matter experts in a given space. Lots of relationships are built, networking is built, and in many cases, this is where our entrepreneurs meet their first seed and angel investors. Some cases, venture capitalists, and others are corporate strategics. And then we conclude our year in the regional time frame with our regional events where entrepreneurs receive their cash prizes and awards. ultimately our global forum in Silicon Valley in November. We have about 1,000 people from across the world that come through the global forum on an annual basis, and this is also where our Global Ideas Competition winner is named. So training, mentoring, access to capital, showcasing technologies, the 4 key metrics of the CleanTech Open as an organization and what we provide. We spend most of our time on training and mentoring. At the end of the day, and I think this is universal, both here in the United States but also abroad, entrepreneurs really need to be interacting with people who have been there, done that. They need mentoring. They need to understand their team, their corporate structure, and how to execute. We have all been with, both whether it be client or non-client based, friends, family, everybody has great ideas. But at the end of the day, if you cannot execute on those ideas, it's kind of a moot exercise. Access to capital, we do a lot of what we call Investor Connect sessions with our entrepreneurs. This is where venture capitalists, seed, angel investors, some corporate strategics get their first rounds with some of our entrepreneurs. Some of that is kind of a one-on-one fast pitch dating, so to speak, around the table. But the sessions are fantastic and a great place to network, and then showcasing through many of our regional and national events. This is how it works on the award side. Those numbers up at the top are generic. They're not where we are. That's just a historical average, kind of how this works out through the regions and how we allocate our cash prizes and in-kind services, ultimately coming down to our one national grand prize winner, which has a $200,000 reward package. These are our application criteria. The criteria is pretty straightforward. We have a $6 million ceiling, so to speak, on the funding that an applicant can have coming in. Our 1 U.S. resident, citizen, or legal alien minimum per team. We do have a lot of companies that come through our program that have either foreign-born or, in many cases, principal team members from other countries. They compete here in the United States with our program. Again, one of the reasons why we want to expand this accelerator model abroad so that we can have more entrepreneurs in our pipeline across the globe. We have our application fees. We only have early birds pricing available always in March and April. And then our participation fee here at the bottom, which covers these things for the remainder of the program year. So, the big takeaway here is what we're able to do. You're looking at $600 incidental travel costs. That's your investment as an entrepreneur into the CleanTech Open, and what you get out is exponentially more. So in many ways, we really do think that we have a very valuable return on investment. So these are the things that we provide. You can probably glean some of this by coming through the presentation. Again, many of these things that we do here in the U.S. Accelerator, we are going to be replicating in other countries as we stand up the accelerators around the world, and that only can lead to good things. Key activities, we've been through that, won't bore you on that slide. Here's a smattering of some of our alumni from different years, where they've come from, and their current funding rounds. Most of these rounds are A. Some of those are Series B for our venture capitalists out there. All of these companies are ongoing concerns. A couple on this list, Power Assure and Alphabet Energy there, have entered into corporate strategic investment relationships with 2 major utilities, investor-owned utilities here in the United States. These are just our 2012 category winners. Again, a pretty interesting array of companies. The company in the middle, HEVT, the 2 co-founders and co-CEOs, 2 young, dynamic women from Chicago. They took, again, IP that was spun out of the University of Chicago, an ARPA-E grantee. We have a lot of ARPA-E grantees come through our program, and they're on track to do really great things. Again, a couple of our other companies, Synod Systems actually is now in advanced talks with Apple for their technology deployment. And their Sustainable Systems International is our National Sustainability Award winner right here in the Southeast region, a Maryland-based company that is working on a net zero energy milk chilling technology to be deployed in the developing world. And Probert and I are probably going to talk about that at some point as well. So we're very proud of SSI and their efforts. This is the end, ladies and gentlemen. So we are always looking for companies to obviously be a part of our program, volunteers, mentors, subject matter experts, people that are experts in their field. We'd love to have you be a part of the Cleantech Open Network, partners and sponsors, and yes, we are a nonprofit, so all donations, small and large, are greatly appreciated. Look us up, cleantechopen.org, follow us on Twitter, and of course, like us on Facebook. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Turning back over to Tom Wyrick.
Great. Thanks so much, Josh. So with that, I think we're going to go into the next session of this, which is more of the breakout, to talk about some of the issues that were, of course, brought up with Josh and compare this to the Indian experience. And we have, of course, Prabir here, Josh from Invest, who's going to help lead the conversation today on that front. And, of course, I'll be here to help Prabir. And before we start, I think it might be worthwhile, since we have a small group, just to maybe go around the table and just introduce who you are. No market pitches, but yeah.
Actually, since there are only two of you there, would you mind joining us?
Yeah.
That way we can discuss face to face.
Perfect. And so why don't we just start then, just go around the table, introduce who we are really quickly, and then Prabir, we'll have you take it from there. So.
Okay. My name is Prabir Ghosh. I run a nonprofit organization called Invest. Invest stands for Invest in Energy that's sustainable through virtual collaborative teams. The key is virtual collaborative teams. That's what we are focused on. Our absolute main focus is accelerating U.S.-India sustainable energy initiatives. And we have virtual teams in both US and India who are working towards that. And when we say sustainable energy, it's all forms of energy that can, we are looking at 6 aspects. The 2 key are energy security and cleaner energy. So we have lots of interaction, and I'd like to forward it to.
Okay, I think it's not.
Well, we need to actually speak in the microphone because we're being
Webcast.
I see. Oh,
Exactly.
so I must be careful then while talking. Okay, I am Borthakur, PK Borthakur. I work for a PSU, the most valuable PSU of the country, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation. So my business is in the oil and gas sector. We do have interest. I'm a director offshore, so part of my responsibility is to manage entire offshore east coast and west coast of India. Additionally, I look after the joint venture corporations. I also is responsible for the marketing of gas and valuable products in India for the company. And we have been #1 in India PSU for a very long time. We also have interest in the renewables. We have interest in windmill. We have interest in solar. Also, we will venture into nuclear area also, because in India a lot of uraniums are there, thoriums, which we encounter while drilling. So we have in future we want to do that also. And but our core is on E&P. We do in India as well as overseas. We are almost in 16 countries. We have properties through all things. But in another 18 years, we have a plan for 2030 where we think 30% of our top line will come from the non-E&P sectors, which is primarily solar, wind, refinery, petrochemicals. So that's mine.
Hello, I'm Thomas Chinnikara. I'm based here in Washington, D.C., and a recent entrant into renewable energy and sustainable sector. My interest to attend this conference was primarily to get a feel of what's going on in this industry, so that I can make certain moves to establish myself into this sector. I've been in the IT industry for several years. The move towards the clean tech field was pretty recent, probably in the last 1 year or so. Being a person of Indian origin and based here, I'm looking at opportunities where technology or other forms of support can be brought from the US to the emerging clean tech field in India. To that extent, I travel to India very often and look for opportunities. In the last 1 year, I have traveled 3 or 4 times, and I've identified certain opportunities, particularly in the sustainable energy infrastructure type of projects within communities, not very large projects, but let's say projects which are less than 1 megawatt, where you can integrate the available resources within communities, whether it's sun, biomass, or even other forms of potential energy and storage. So at this time, it's more of an investigative journey that I'm into than something which is actionable yet. Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Vinod Agarwal. I'm a founder of a company called Applied Solar. What we do is minimize the usage of diesel in remote corners of India for telecom towers and other such applications. We have already done more than 2,000 towers in India, where we have installed about 5 kilowatts of solar each, so more than 10 megawatts of solar has been installed. We work in really remote areas of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. And so, we are very familiar with ground realities and what it takes to actually do clean tech in parts of India where there is absolutely no power. And one of the reasons why I'm interested in this is we are trying to see how to take local people and turn them into entrepreneurs. And clearly the numbers are very different. $90 is a lot of money there, right? Or $200 or $400 is a lot of money. The guy who is going to be an entrepreneur probably has no more than $10 in his pocket, right? So it's a totally different ballgame, but that's typically the reality of India, when you're looking at that. But I am actually based in US for the last 40 years, and so do a lot of commute between California and Delhi.
So I'm Caitlin McAllister. I am the International Program Manager at the U.S. Green Building Council, which created and certifies the LEED rating system to measure green buildings. It's a global rating system in over 140 countries and territories and counting. Our goal is to get every country to have a LEED project. And we've worked in India for the past number of years, but it's become a big focus for us in terms of our international strategy. So my goal here is to really connect with local leaders such as yourselves so that I can learn more from you on how we can make our tools to be more flexible, effective, to serve the Indian market. So I'm very excited to speak with all of you. Thank you.
I'm Ari Benaisa. I'm with the U.S. Department of Energy, and I'm basically responsible for overseeing the overall relationship between the U.S. and India in energy cooperation. So I'm interested in what you all are doing and the possibility for more. Part of what we're looking at is increasing public-private partnerships and promoting the commercialization of clean energy in India. So I'm very interested to hear what you all have to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tim Williamson. I'm Deputy Director of Alternative Renewable Energy at the Department of State. New bureau we've just formed about 1.5 years ago. It complements what DOE has been doing for many, many years. We grew out of the quadrennial review Secretary Clinton and the President undertook to look at how we view the world in terms of the energy lens in our geopolitical relationships, strategies, and working on ways that we can better harness the diplomatic ties that we've had for many, many years with the different corners of the world. One of the reasons I'm here today is to explore opportunities to further one of my portfolios, which is the Sustainable Energy for All initiative. India has not joined on to the Sustainable Energy for All initiative, but it doesn't mean that there aren't a number of people in India that need access to clean energy. So the model still needs to be developed. I think we have examples in other parts of the world that where the mini-grid model that you have highlighted already in the telecom sector could be applied. We just have to be able to scale it down so that it's bridges in between where the solar home systems leaves off and where the utility scale begins. So for me, it's a challenge of trying to develop a model for those people that have $5 a month to spend on energy. We have a model that works for $5 a week on energy. We just need to try to figure out how to make it work for 1/4 of the cost. So I'm encouraged by your work in Uttar Pradesh, and look forward to speaking with you also on maybe ways that we can take some of the models that you've been working on, and particularly work with dairy cooperatives and others to try to expand the opportunity for expanding energy to the Indian people. The other part of my portfolio is working on utility scales in the Indian subcontinent, and then it's the regional cooperation between the regional partners and trying to bring more hydro, more wind from the Himalayan plateau into the Indian subcontinent, working with Bangladesh to work on energy exports from India into Bangladesh, probably from Burma into Bangladesh, and also the energy exchange in between Pakistan and India, and the Tapi pipeline, which will be bringing a great deal of energy to India in the not too distant future. Well, we said that 10 years ago, so we'll see how long it takes. So anyway.
Well, I never formally introduced myself before, so I'll just take a moment. My name is Tom Wyrick, so I'm the Vice President of Corporate Relations as well as the newly named Director of International Programs at ACOR, which stands for the American Council on Renewable Energy. And so, with that, I think, Prabir, if you want to open up maybe for some general questions and spark debate. I am going to be taking some notes, and so I unfortunately ran out of business cards while I was in India 2 weeks ago. And my HR is punishing me for not putting in the order early enough. So if you can do me a favor and leave your business card for me, I will then make sure that any notes that are taken, any summaries, are then emailed to you. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, Josh left some cards for me. So if you didn't receive Josh Green's card, please let me know, and I'll be happy to give that to you. So with that, Prabir, I'm going to turn the table over to you.
Okay. I think since this is a nice and cozy table, we'll keep it short. Since it's entrepreneur, I'd like to kind of start with you, Vinod, since you are. Thank you. Please go ahead. I think you already have my card, right?
Yeah.
So
we'll do the DC thing of exchanging.
Yeah.
Right. Get that out of the way, Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ari, I think I met you about 3 years ago or 2 years ago.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Vinod, I don't think I got your card.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
We exchange.
Yes.
So I think at the high level, there are about 2 or 3 basic questions we want to answer. And I will kind of frame those 2 or 3 questions. The first one is, what is your experience, or what are you expecting from this entrepreneurship effort you're doing? The second is, how can government or any entities like ACOR or other organizations help you in your journey? And the third is essentially to see if there are any specific initiatives that can help you, whether it's rules or regulations. And finally, assuming that this is social entrepreneurship, where social component is a very large piece of it, does it need to be defined separately? Does it need to have any uh, uh, special credit or thing like that. So I'd like to go around the table with those 4 or 5 questions. So with Vinod, since you have real world experience, and did you say 2,000?
Towers.
2,000 towers?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about when you started, how you started, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you need the.
I think you
you need it
mic.
for the mic. Okay. So yeah, I'll just take maybe a minute to introduce. We started about 4.5 years back, and I'm really a semiconductor guy.
And you are based out of the U.S.
I'm based, yeah, I live in California. My family lives there. And my wife will tell everybody else that I don't live in California anymore because I travel to India so much. Because I'm there about 7-8 months a year in India. But I think what is really fascinating is that, we talk about solar a lot in India, but trying to do solar, in remote areas of India is a totally different experience. And we are one of the very few companies, I will say maybe 2 or 3 companies in the world like that, who are really putting their time and energy to understand the problems of India in rural sector and how do you take care of it with a very small amount of money. That's the challenge, right? Because very frugal, it has to be highest technology. You'll be surprised to know that even though we are doing this in remote parts of India, we are using panels from US, not from China. We are using controllers from US. We are using Suniva company out of Ajit, right? Exactly. So because I'm a semiconductor person and been here so long, I focus on quality first, and then see how to deliver that quality at the lowest price. And it's like asking for two completely opposite ends to meet together, and it's really hard to do that. But we have been able to do it. We got 2,000 towers going, and we are progressing and doing many more towers. We have a lot of funding. We have regular venture funding, companies like Bessemer and Capricorn. Even IFC is an investor in us. And we also have debt funding from Exim and IFC. And recently we have closed a major loan with OPEC also. So we managed to raise funds at the lowest cost possible, clearly. But going back to the entrepreneurship, which is really what I'm interested in, so I'm doing these towers, and think of me as around a tower with some solar. And if you think about it, solar is generating its power every day without me doing anything other than maintaining it. I don't have to ship any material or remove anything or do anything, right? Just sitting there and it's a source of power. So it's like an energy center, right? And so what I'm trying to think now is how do I provide energy to people around that tower, right? And just by the nature of it, every telecom tower will have at least 1,000 people within 2 or 3 kilometers. Otherwise, the tower is not needed, right? They have to make money on the telecom side of it, right? So if I have even the lowest number of 1,000 people times 2,000, that's 2 million people I have access to. Most of my towers are in the areas where there is either zero grid power, absolutely no grid power. It's like dark when you go there in the evening, or the power may be there for 1 or 2 hours, right? So now, I'm saying I have 2 million clients potentially, and I have energy coming. How do I give this energy?
Per tower?
No.
2 million for the 2,000 towers.
2,000 towers, right?
Yes.
So I have energy coming. I can increase the capacity. I can put more solar if the need be. But how do I sell this energy? And I want to do it without any subsidies. I want to say this upfront. Everything I do without any subsidies. I don't believe that renewable energy can survive in the long run if there are subsidies, okay?
Right.
So to begin with, my model is without any subsidies, okay?
Right.
Because that's what interests my investors. They say, wow, if you can make money without subsidies, I want to put money in you, right? And that's my selling point, right? And so how do I make money? So when you said $5 a month, that's too much. $2 a month.
You think?
That's the only thing you will get in India, okay?
You really need to understand the reality.
Right. They spend $2 a month on kerosene, right? And that's all they'll be willing to pay. Now, 5 years later, maybe if economies improve, their standards change, they have more source of earning, maybe they'll go to $5. But $2 is max, okay? Now, there may be 5–10% people in each village, who are sort of upper end people, according to the village relative economy. They might pay $5–6, but that's only 10% people. And 60–70–80% will pay $2. The remaining 10–20% below poverty, they'll steal it or they'll pay nothing. So you have to give it for free, right? So the challenge is, how do you find such people who would actually take this power and sell it, right? Now, this microgrid idea is actually a very expensive idea because you need to invest in it, and it takes a lot of money, and there's no guarantee you'll get the returns, right? And again, think no subsidies, right? So somebody has to put that money, right? Every microgrid will require at least $50,000, okay, to do it properly. Sorry?
You can do it.
Say 40,000, say 30,000, okay? It doesn't matter, it's a large number. Anything beyond 5,000 is a large number to me, okay? Yeah. That's where I'm coming from, okay? So what we are doing is, instead of creating any grid, we are using this milk chiller centers and putting batteries there, which are charged from this energy center. And we are saying, when you come to deliver your milk, also bring your used battery that you used last night, okay? And we'll charge the battery in the daytime, and then when you go back in the evening, okay, take your battery with you and you use it in the evening, okay? So that way they're making a trip in any case to the milk chiller or to a place like that, and they don't have to spend any money on it.
It's a kiosk. It's a kiosk.
It's a kiosk, right? So they're used to getting water that way. They're used to getting all kinds of things that way, right? They don't have pipelines for everything, right? So we don't need to create pipelines of electricity, at least for now. Okay. Once they start using more and more, yes, we can turn this into maybe a grid eventually. But at this point, the grid spend is too high. It just doesn't justify, right? So we have done one village, and it looks very good. I'll tell you what the problems are. And now we are trying to do a much bigger village, about 600 people.
So these 2,000 towers, essentially, you started off with just supplying to the tower, which
That's
needs
it, yeah.
about roughly 3.5 kilowatts, right, approximately. And then this village you're talking about is...
Will be around that,
yeah.
one of those towers.
I think there is a... yeah. So... what percentage of your, you are saying that there's only one village that you have started with, that you are supplying?
Well, this is just an idea we are exploring, right? We're trying
Okay.
to figure out how to make it viable, right?
Right.
And what I think the bottom line is, I can't be there around each tower to do this, right?
Right.
Somebody as an entrepreneur who is interested in doing this business should be managing it, right?
Okay.
And so I'm trying to find these entrepreneurs, right?
So do you find the local panchayats? Do you find any local guys who are
That's
trying
what
to
we like
work
to
on-
do. That's what we like to
Okay.
do. But I like to stay away from anything which is official, whether it's panchayat or government or
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
I mean, I have real problems with anything that requires a central authority to manage my business, okay?
Okay.
Whether it's at a local level or at a high level. And
Okay.
maybe I'm not going to be successful because of that, at least in the village electrification part of it. But
Yeah. So
that's my thinking, that's
okay.
how I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So let me now try and connect the dots. I'm going to put Bod Thakur as one of the largest PSU, as he said, ONGC. And incidentally, ONGC, as he said, has got this initiative to get into 30% of the energy needs to come from renewable energy sources. The second part is every company, whether it's public or private, they have got a 2% CSR, corporate social responsibility, that needs to be pumped in. So my question to you would be, would ONGC be interested, I'm not saying just Vinod, but would ONGC be interested in looking at funding this type of models where, so
Okay.
I'd like your
First is Mr. Agarwal's one point, that since you have gone in the grassroots, you know this story. Today, you may be saying that our percentage of young voters are very high in any elections they take. And in Panchayat, you will find that the oldies are no longer there. It's the young boy who are actually heading the Panchayats, either young boy or a young woman. Therefore, we have a lot of hope for them. I mean, I'm very sure if you involve Panchayat, it will come. Second issue, probably another hope is our Aadhaar systems. Once the Aadhaar comes, Aadhaar means there is a bank account on each employee. The subsidy will go to the as a cash to that family.
Is a unique identification program
So if that comes, the pilferage of the kerosene and other things will move. I mean, today actually, unfortunately, most of the kerosene are being used as a adulteration for diesel. So once that moves out, in the cash subsidy goes directly to that. So you will find affordability in the village will improve. Means that today what is $2, it might go to see those who are absolutely below the poverty line. They may also be able to afford, because that point of time he will get the subsidy on that. But anyway, government is spending so much of money. So that is one. We as an ONGC, we have about we can spend about 5% of our total profit before tax on CSR. On this front, what recently we have done is in Sundarban area, which is in the West Bengal Delta, there is no electricity because the power line cannot go. It is a small island within the things. Few villages we have undertaken on solar lamps very recently. That seems to be working well. Only we need to find out, smoothen the area, how to maintain this. This is because the problem is not the initial investment. The problem is they give them a sustainable things, then how to manage and make the working capital out of that. So that is one area. So we are working on that. Similarly, some of the areas we are looking where isolated away from, and there is no possibility of power transmission line going there in the near futures. So those are the area actually where the solar will work very effectively. And India is, I think we all know, is a different country. I mean, we have a middle class, we have everybody, millionaire down to a person who does not have a billionaires, and down to a people who does not have a dollar for a day.
But you will have a cell phone.
Yeah. No, but you see the cell phone also, because cell phone telecom has become so cheap today. Even the ordinary, the housemaid, she has a telephone, and she also cannot think without a cell today. So such type of revolution has to come, and in India there is space for everybody, because there are people middle class who are conscious of using clean energy. But the women in the village, please appreciate that they are using cow dung dung as a source of fuel. So for her, dollar is important. So she is not bothered about whether there is a global warming, whether clean energy or non-clean energy. For her, she has not seen the gas, LPG. Probably she can't even think that LPG is a dirty fuel, or she can't think that kerosene is a dirty fuel. But she is used to either cow dung, dung, or the coal. That coal, unwashed coal that she, I think, carries doesn't buy, or the wood. In a tropical country where half of the time it is raining, please understand the difficulty of the lady. When she goes to the kitchen, half of her wood is wet, so she gets a lot of smoke. So for her, clean is that has less smoke, not that concept of wind power or solar. So it's a relative thing. So what we think, we can do a lot of things in each area. There are areas where wind energy will sustain, and we as a corporate, we have such a field because all western and eastern offshore we work. We have our facilities there, offshore facilities. So we are planning to put some of the wind energy in our coastals. So we have just working on that. Feasibility is we are hiring a consultant out of that, and we will do that. And we think that that's a big potential on the west coast, especially where our sea line is quite long, and coastline is quite long and is quite shallow. 10 meter, 20 meters is quite a distance. And we'll be having oil field, gas field rather, around that. So we are planning, we are trying to see the feasibility whether we can produce that wind power, use it for ourselves, and our gas, which normally all transport, even the internal consumption gas, also we can then transport it to the shore. So this is.
So if I can kind of wrap it up and come back to that one question, will ONGC, is there a provision for ONGC to say, okay, 10% of my CSR, we will allot it to entrepreneurs who are working in rural areas and villages? An example can be.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. We are actually, if a good entrepreneur project comes up, which, as he said, we can make some self-sustainable, we are ready to, we are more than willing to do that.
Okay. So how easy is the process? Is it a process that's already set up, or is it you have to go through a lot of hoops to get entrepreneurs? Vinod is one example. We have worked with at least about 30 or 40 other absolute zero ground level people who are working in several villages, who are working on anywhere from clean cook stoves to putting up solar lights or biogas fires and so on. So is there a criteria for ONGC to say, if you meet this criteria, we'll fund, and there won't. One of the key issues that I've found when I've interacted with lots of grassroots level people in India is they know that the government is there and there can be a lot of help, but they are also very worried about a lot of the issues and bureaucratic red tape and things that hardly move.
On the CSR funding and expenditure on CSR funding, we have very less bureaucracy. Our procedures, we are more or less. Now, actually, that's why what we are doing. If we, as a government, if we do it, as a PSU is a government company, we have a lot of procedures. As of today, we are not following that procedures for the CSR trust. Now we are going to constitute a trust separately for the CSR fund, which is about 500 crores a year, rupee, which is about $100 million. So that will go to a different fund. We are going to open a trust on that, and the trust will oversee all those investment in the CSR areas. And we have been doing it quite, like I will give you an example. There was in Madhya Pradesh, there was one area which make very good sanderi chadars. It's a cloth. So that the whole community was dying. So we took up and gave them help. That thing has come up now. So we do that sort of things. But since our main business is E&P, so naturally we cannot, divert our total attentions. So we have realized that. So what we have now done is, in another 2-3 months probably we will open a trust, independent trust, and that trust will be funded by only us, exclusively by ONGC, and it will be done.
Okay, sounds good. So looks like there can be opportunities for somebody like Vinod to access this, and
what I would like actually is not me accessing it.
But
my interest is not in my company,
right?
Because I am already doing my business, right? I'm trying to see how to provide value out of that business to local people.
So Vinod,
right.
The other question I have for you is in this village you're working, has Aadhaar reached there?
Not yet.
Okay. Do you? The reason I'm saying this is I've had an initial dialogue with Nandan Nilankani, who is in charge of Aadhaar, and I've also had a chat with Sam. Sam and I have been talking for the last 3 years, and Sam is the one who pushed me into what I'm doing today. So what I'm thinking of is, as you said, the people who need to get the benefit out of this are the villagers who are finding it to put in 4 rupees or 5 rupees for that light, 4 hours of light that they get. I'm trying to see if there's a way where one of your setup can be in Aadhaar related area, and we can kind of tie it up, and somebody like a corporate, like whether it's ONGC or something, can see that yes, this is being used, going to the right people, and therefore it's a well-funded area.
Absolutely. I think that you know.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I think that we need to find ways in which we can empower people locally, right?
Okay.
And you know, I don't want to be in the collection of $2 a household because I don't make money on it, and my investors won't make money. But if somebody else can do that, which is a local entrepreneur, then is what I'm looking at. Right.
That's
the
point,
key, right?
To that point.
Right. But the challenge is, it's not easy to find local entrepreneurs. It's like entrepreneur is like a scientist. You just can't say they're there. You have to train them. They have to have natural urge to do it. They have to be risk, averse people, and all those people, right? Risk takers, I mean, and it's not easy to find such people, I mean, we think it's easy, but it's not. I mean, I've tried very hard.
Sorry. Before, if I can just put one word in, if you, we are in touch with an organization called O Energy, and there are about 8 or 9 grassroots organizations who are working in the villages. So they have got these are independent entrepreneurs, and that I think I would like you to get in connection with. So they have got the trust of the 4 or 5 different panchayats and villages that they have got. So they would listen to, and so they are the persons, I think, who can help you get this going. The other one is there is an institute called Unreasonable Institute in Boulder that I don't know if you've heard about them.
I was just thinking only in Colorado you could have a name like that.
Yeah. So this is a young Indian kid. This is a young Indian kid who has started an institution to train entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and very similar to clean tech, but their focus is just social entrepreneurs. They have a 6-week intensive course. About 20–30% of they come from all over the world, but 20–30% of them are Indians. So I will get in touch with you with Ravi Lochan, who runs this, and they can be of help to you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm very encouraged by this discussion because it shows me that there are models that can be applied and that may be replicable in a wide scale. I think the key is really trying to find the individuals, as you say, who are willing to take on the charge of being the bursar, the collection agent, whether that be the village elder or it's just an entrepreneur that seizes the day. I think that those are we need to find those individuals and then cultivate that energy and make it a reasonable proposition to replicate and show as an example, as a sort of a template for what can be done on a massive scale. I'm here to say that Sustainable Energy for All is eager to assist. Chad Holliday has put up $50 billion of the Bank of America's money towards this worldwide. But clearly there's an absolute focus on countries such as India, where there's a huge population that does not have access to energy. And if we can find an appropriate means or method to train these individuals to take on the charge, to be able to deploy the models, to be able to replicate those models and propagate those models wide scale, I think that there's an absolute business opportunity for folks in India to grow their own status and their own economy to while bringing energy to the people.
In what forms can you help, other than dialogue and interactions?
Well, we can help on the policy side. We can help on the communication side. We can be matchmakers. We can do a lot of things. We have access to IRENA with the global facilitation team, Kande Yamkela. They're eager to start the charge, and we just need the right mixture of entrepreneurs, the right mixture of model solutions, and the right aptitude, if I can put it that way, in the local individuals to make this catalyst take place. Once we can have the catalyst take place and we can hold high these models, we can propagate this wide scale.
So I think just 1 second. So what I was just going to say that we have got 2 new entrants who just came in. So why don't they introduce themselves? And
Please.
He can. I think he was going to start. So what?
Yeah. My name is Basant Jain. I am from Mahindra and Mahindra. Hi. Good to see you. I was trying to reach you. It was coming.
We were
going on
trying to get connected.
Well, just to comment on what Binod you said. 40 years back, we saw a revolution in India in the form of this cooperative movement in this dairy product, called Amul Gujarat Dairy, Corporation, where hundreds of thousands of people actually joined hand together. It happened because there was a passionate person behind it, and then he did not have any commercial reason to do it. He was only passionate about ensuring that the people at the village level get right price and their productivity is improved. The modern ways of dairy farming are introduced to them, and it's a for the profit organization but for the members. Okay, so it's like a cooperative movement, and I tell you, without Dr. Varghese, it would have not been possible. Okay, had it not been for him. Many other states tried, they failed because there was only one Dr. Varghese. Okay, in the case of electricity, people today I hail from a rural area, and I know that it's not the willingness of the people which is questioned. People are willing to pay for the price, and unfortunately politicians in India believe that by keeping the energy price low, well, they are doing a service, but it's a great disservice to the community, because of that low energy price, there is a lot of theft happening and a lot of misuse of the electricity happening. And then it is not, when there is a power outages because the electricity board cannot keep funding those losses, people are willing to pay for the energy. It's a question of making them affordable, and that's where I think the concept of microgrid we are talking about, with the right kind of storage system. But as Binod rightly pointed out, that we need to create a culture of entrepreneurship at the grassroots level. Otherwise, people like you and I are not going to collect those $2. Okay, and it's too costly an affair. But as some kind of cooperative movement created, but it has to come from a person who doesn't have a business interest, who is only interested in uplifting the people's life and changing their life. I think unless you get that kind of man to take charge, I think this will sorry.
Or a woman.
Yeah, or a woman. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, no. So somebody who can take charge on ground, who is really passionate about it, I think the entrepreneur will come, okay, and then the corporates will come. It's only the creating that linkage between those villager and the corporate, which is today missing. That linkage, I think, has to come, from a non-business oriented, person. I think.
Yeah. Just to complement what Basant said, and I think he didn't want to probably tout about Mahindra's. Mahindra's is a $14 billion conglomerate, and they are into many industries, and one of the industries they have stepped in is clean venture, and there's a lot of work, good work that Mahindra is doing. So with that, I'd like to give the mic to you and give us an introduction and what your interest is in this.
Sure. Hi, Are we supposed to speak in the mic?
Yes,
Yeah, we're being
because of
webcast.
supposedly
We're being
we have been
webcast.
telecast.
Okay,
I mean,
great.
We don't like hearing ourselves that loud, but
No, I was wondering there's some secret reason for that.
Yeah,
So,
there is.
my name is Deepak, and I'm a principal at a venture capital firm and private equity firm in California and Boston called General Catalyst Partners. We manage $2.5 billion invested in technology, clean technology, and healthcare. We also have a couple of investments in India and the energy sector. So my interest here is helping entrepreneurs, obviously, in any way possible. And what I would like to actually share here is an experience that we went through about 5 years ago. So when we started investing in clean technology out of our Boston office in 2006 and 2007, we realized there were some critical linkages missing, as everyone has pointed out. And we got together with a couple of non-business but passionate people to start something called the New England Clean Energy Council. It became an umbrella body for everyone and anyone interested in clean technology, especially entrepreneurs, venture capital firms, accounting firms, and businesses. You probably are aware of Dave Danielson. He was my colleague. Yeah, and who's now the undersecretary, I think, of renewable energy. So we had that experience, and it actually helped to kickstart a lot of clean energy investing in India. And more importantly, one of the programs under the council was actually an entrepreneurs education program. We identified about 20 to 30 different entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs who were passionate and capable in executing something in the energy industry. And we funded them, and we actually, the nonprofit funded them. I don't want to say we funded them, but the nonprofit funded them to understand what are the critical macroeconomic changes happening, what are the critical microeconomic changes happening, where do you source things, whom do you partner with, and also teach them a little bit of entrepreneurship education. So if it's of help to you, I can put whoever is interested in touch with the organization, and I'm sure they would be willing to share.
Okay, I would love to get some more.
Yeah, and we also took that learning one step further. And in 2011, we and a couple of other interested individuals started something called the Advanced Energy Economy, which is a network of clean energy clusters in about 15 different states. I think count is about 15, but basically to fund and help grassroots entrepreneurs in policy, in education, and all other initiatives. So just wanted to share that experience.
Great. Okay. So I've been told that we've got about 7 minutes left. So let's go around the table, and I'll start with you, Mo Thakur, to just give a quick 1 minute view of if there are one or two things that you would like to see from social entrepreneurship, from your perspective. One, how can you help, and what you'd like to see?
The one thing I would like is that somebody who will act as a nucleus to develop those young entrepreneurs that's spread all over India in large numbers. They are all young, and we need somebody to as a nucleus to work. And it is such a vast country, so we'll have to do simultaneously in few places. But if you go, try one pilot and do other things, then it will be too late. Some established success stories we have to do simultaneously in many places, and I am sure it can be done.
Before this, I don't know whether you were already there or not. Mo Thakur is from ONGC side, and he has said that, as you know, there's a CSR, which is 2% of the profit, and incidentally, ONGC is very profitable company, so they've got lots of money that comes from a public sector. A part of that can be used if a proper program is in place, and I think they would be willing to look into those.
In my own experience, I've seen that the social entrepreneurship is on the rise in India. We've seen a lot of youngsters of the current generation coming up, and they're very comfortable being social entrepreneurs rather than true business, aspiring for true commercial or business success. So I think that wave of social entrepreneurship should be tapped by the industry by way of creating opportunities for the villagers. And I guess it's up to the industry to really support those entrepreneurs, but at the same time be different in your operation so that you can be commercially viable as well.
You know, I think that, frankly, I think we are failing a lot of young people in India. We are not giving them enough opportunities. I don't think we should expect them to solve the problems that we are discussing here. I think we should have a very simple model, like a Mary Kay model or an Avon model, where we just tell them what to do and give them enough incentives so they go and do it. Let's forget the rest of it around them. They are not interested, they are not capable at this point, they will not understand it, you know. So we can sit around the table and do as many discussions as we want. The simplest thing is to come up with a model like a Mary Kay or an Avon or whatever we want to call it, where we say, here is a good bill of goods, go and sell it, whether it's energy or services or whatever. You will make so much money when you do that, and that's the end of it, right? And then they go around the village, they go around the community, and they do it, you know. They don't have to understand what is renewable energy, they don't have to understand what battery technology is, they don't have to understand any of those things. Maybe we'll teach them a little bit, you know, how to connect things or how to do this and that, but they don't have to become engineers, they don't have to become technicians, they don't have to become entrepreneurs in the sense of saying, look, you know, I've got investments going in this and that. We need a very, 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 very simple model, and I cannot emphasize enough times, okay? These people are really simple. You know, I go to these villages, I live there, I work with them, and I see what they can do. They are highly aspirational, but that's about it, okay? And so they will do anything you ask them to do, but there's a limit to what they know. And, you know, we sit here and we think they can do a lot, but they really cannot, you know. So let's be very realistic about any of these things, you know. And I think we can do incredible things with these people. They're highly aspirational people. They're young, they're motivated, but their level of education, their level of knowledge, you know, imagine you're living in a village where there's no power. How would they have exposure to anything in the world? They haven't seen TV, they haven't seen any internet, they haven't seen anything. What would they know, right? So we have to connect that reality to it, you know, and then figure out how to make it so simple that they can do whatever it is good for them and makes them money, so they're motivated to keep doing it more and more. I think we need to keep that in mind.
Great, thank you. Well, sitting here listening to all of you, it's been really inspirational. From the U.S. Green Building Council standpoint, one of the best things that we've seen coming out of the LEED rating system is this emergence of kind of a new green economy, because now there are these systems you have to meet, and especially in the energy sector, tying into all sorts of different types of industries coming through green economy. And one of the things that we've taken on as an organization is to prepare young professionals and students to meet the needs of those industries so they can be prepared for jobs, to take on the tasks of being entrepreneurs. So our Center for Green Schools really focuses on that at the university level, preparing students to really take on those challenges and become the new leaders. And as well, our local chapters have developed robust leadership and mentorship programs to help young professionals really engage on that entrepreneurship level. And I can really see a lot of opportunities to discuss those models that we've done here in the United States, how we can replicate those in India, from both the young professional level who are looking to make more of a change towards that type of industry, or students as well. So I'd love to speak with you further on that. Yeah.
So it seems to me that there are really two different kinds of entrepreneurs that we're talking about. I mean, the sort of program you were talking about and that Josh gave a presentation on focused on people starting companies, and then the kind of entrepreneurs, and that I think is the weakest link. And this hasn't been something that I've been focused on in my capacity at the Department of Energy, but I've seen, you know, several articles over years of companies that are doing that sort of thing, sort of on one-off basis, and I can think, I wish I remembered the details, and it may have been something put out by the Sierra Club, one of their newsletters, about a organization that was working with women and was taking them off to, I want to say, it had something with barefoot in the, just if anyone wants to try and Google it. You're familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no.
And they're taking them out, and I think they're taking for a couple weeks and doing that kind of training, but I don't know that there's anything organized in terms of capturing this kind of, all these one-offs that people are doing and bringing that together. And I don't know if there's, and I don't know if you are working in, if...
Database. School funded them, School Foundation. So
Okay.
they fund, hundreds of projects like that. So that might be a good database to.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of, we're in the process of helping, the U.S. government set up with USAID, through USAID, this I-Corps in India, and I don't know if you're directly involved in that. If that's, that could be one of the tasks of that organization to sort of spread this kind of, and do that kind of, proliferation of information in India.
Well, thank you, Tom, for putting this together. I think this has been very, very helpful for me. And I want to share a couple of observations that I've had just today. One is that there's the Grameen Shakti model in Bangladesh that essentially takes the solar home system and does what you were saying. Provides 30 watts of energy in a package system for $100. And that it's paid over a 2-year period, basically. There's the Sri Lankan model, which is very similar. I think the Grameen Shakti model has the greatest application for folks that just want light. The downside of that system is at 30 watts, everyone wants a television. You cannot drive a television on 30 watts. You can't even drive a fan on 30 watts unless you've purchased a DC fan and you're operating in the DC world. So that's a downside of the system. I think that, there are models out there that are absolutely applicable to get people just the basic services, But I would challenge you, PK, to do what you were talking about, to develop these centers where we can work together with you and take the harvest that you create out of these centers and put them to work in creating these business opportunities, whether they be kiosks or whether they be absolute linkages to the dairy cooperatives, to spread a utility from the dairy cooperatives that are clearly a business model that works and that could, quite frankly, afford to and have the business savvy to operate a utility on its own, or whether it's an entrepreneur who just sees the market opportunity where they could branch out from maybe one system to 2 systems to a multiple of systems and hire a few people to do operations and maintenance. Those models work well in Kenya. They're working in South Africa. And they're absolutely replicable in the Indian subcontinent. So I challenge everyone here at this table to try to take the ideas that we put forward today and not lose contact with one another, but make these conversations meaningful and move forward with the ideas. Thank you.
Firstly, it's really inspirational to hear that you're setting up this 500 crore fund targeted at some of the problems that we're talking about, and hats off to ONGC for that. I think the next step is, as everyone has alluded to, is to make sure to identify the problems we are going to solve, because we cannot solve all the problems in the world. There's this famous quote by Deng Xiaoping, who was the president of China, was responsible for starting the revolution there, the economic revolution there. He said to Lee Kuan Yew, who was the Prime Minister of Singapore, if I had a town like Singapore or a city like Singapore, I would have been able to move everyone into the middle class in 1 generation, but I had to move 1 billion people. Right, so we had to understand what problems we've got to solve and what kind of entrepreneurs we want to help. I think there is this category of entrepreneurs who are basically the ones like the ones funded by Grameen Shakti, individuals who want to make a living for themselves, who want to sell better products and so on. And there's another category of entrepreneurs that we alluded to earlier, who want to set up factories, who want to set up big enterprises. So I think the answer lies probably in both, because one does not survive without the other, because you need supply of products to be sold. So I think a part of the fund can be allocated for that. A part can be allocated for actually the distribution piece of products that are getting manufactured. And I think one way, if I may suggest, is to also partner with some of the business schools in India, because there is a small but a significant talented youth in IIMs and ISBs and all the other business schools who really want to spend their time in helping economic development and social development in the rural parts of India. And so are some business schools in the United States. And you can get free high-quality labor from them to help set up the programs.
I'm serious. It happens.
Right. And I think setting up official consulting projects for some of these business school students who are accomplished in their own way to come and help you to figure out the programs would be helpful. And I'm happy to be involved, because I went through the business school programs and I have a lot of friends who are passionate about this space. I'm happy to be involved and and help in any way I can. But I think it is pulling together the right core group of people who are passionate and capable of doing it and executing on your vision on spending 500 crores in a useful manner.
Perfect. Well, my thanks to all of you again, and thank you, Prabir, and also to Josh, who was here before. So on two notes, so I agree with you on the two different forms of entrepreneurship and the linkages between both as being something that needs to be done. Secondly, the Indian Renewable Energy Federation was announced 3 weeks ago at the Clean Energy Ministerial, and it's officially going to be registered, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks. There'll be a big MOU announcement between ACOR and the U.S. renewables industry and them, which is fantastic. And part of the mandate of IREF from Mr. Subramanian's perspective is education and entrepreneurship development. So if we're looking for a nexus there, of something that's a platform that's being currently created where we can plug in early enough to foster that, that would definitely be the model. And there's buy-in from government and from corporations as well as from startups. So that's definitely something exciting. Secondly, I want to also echo IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency. There's going to be an MOU announced. ACOR is going to be announcing that we've signed. Actually, we signed it today, but we're going to be announcing the signature probably in about 4 weeks, of a focus on global finance, but also on microfinancing, which is something that entrepreneurs need access to. So I was really also happy to hear about the funds. And also looking at a diverse portfolio of accessible funding for entrepreneurs. It's not only the foundations and the grants, but other and civil society groups, but other forms to fund. So I think that's also something where we need to focus more on how do you diversify that kind of funding and access to that funding, be it basic level items in India, to more advanced technology deployment and development in other countries. So just a word of thanks. I found this conversation to be really good. And AE actually is one of our big partners with ACOR. So work very closely with Graham, Richard, and all those guys, and Hemnot and everybody. Exactly. Yeah, so I definitely do want to echo AE's work on the state level. They really have been doing some spectacular work. Actually, there's a new legislative database that they just launched 2 weeks ago. It's been very useful, and we've been working with AE on the defense side, on national defense, so we appreciate that. So
That's not gets the last word.
exactly. You get the last word, so.
It's a difficult one also. Well, I'll just give you an example of what our group has done. And I think, we have done that in one business and we want to replicate it in another. We started the rural, housing finance, so where no bank in India ever, gone there, because they believe those people, first of all, are not bankable. Second, the ticket size is too small, so that the transaction cost is very high, and that's where you need to really innovate a business model. So the the dealing with the local sarpanch and all. I mean, sometimes difficult to deal with them, but they are the best source. But I tell you, they are the people who will tell you about who is credit worthy, who is not, because they know exactly that the internal dynamics of the of the village. So we are working with them, and then we have created a business model. In the very first year of the operation, that business is profitable, which our chairman felt that it will take 5 years time for them to break even. So it's like innovating the business model and creating that level of entrepreneurship and incentivizing people to be part of your ecosystem. So I think that is what is needed today to solve that energy problem in the villages. Creating a right kind of incentive structure and getting to a right people, so that that instead of collecting $2, we are collecting $2,000. So creating that intermediary in between is something which is necessary.
Okay. With that, I think thank you for everyone for your time and your thoughts. And if anything, I would like everyone to take some time in the next 1 month to see how you can help the social entrepreneurs in any way you can. And if you can put up 2-3 notes and send it back to Tom and me, we would really appreciate that.
Fantastic. And I've gotten everyone's business card, so I'll rotate. I'll note do an open email with you all, so you all have each other's contact information also. And some of the notes I took, I'll try to
create a Yahoo group or something so we can all
exactly
get information instead of
Yeah, I think
I don't want to fill up inboxes too much. Yeah.
I think that is a very nice idea. Because in official mail, ONGC being PSU, I get hundreds and thousands of mails, and so would like that if another group is there, because this is we can do outside my official work.
Right.
This is. I'll just unfinished. I'll just give you one thing which actually gives me faith why this is possible. We had in a place we made about 5-6 self-help group of ladies, 10 probably groups, consisting 5 women at a time, and we had one person dedicated to oversee them for over 6 months. And we gave them each group $100 as a seed money to do something of their own. There was a group who was actually the poorest of the poor. They hardly make not even $50 in a day by cooking food for those for the schools, and there is Anganwadi school. In 6 months, it was in 6 months they took over this whole, and they own that business themselves, and now they earn a little bit more than that, and all are happy. Very good food because they are lady. They go to the market themselves, get the good items, good for the children, that school boys, and they have own it. And I met them after about a year or so, and there was a perceived difference between what they were when they were actually working for others and what they are now when they did for themselves. And mind you, everyone was illiterate. Mm-hmm. But then the level of confidence they have is something, seen to a belief. Another issue in India now, irrespective of whatever poor is, they want their children to go to school and learn English. Mm-hmm. He may not have light in his house, but would definitely send the children about 2 kilometers away and paying a little more money to educate that son in English. I'm not saying that learning English will bring them prosperity, but they have understood that education is where it will take them, and that's a very good positive sign for the country.
Perfect. Great.
Thank you again so much.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So lunch is going to be served at 1. It's a delayed lunch for all of us.
Oh, they did?
Exactly. So you didn't miss lunch.